Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Talks with Tatyana. On today's episode, my mom will be joining for a Mother's Day episode, and we will discuss advice on the mother daughter relationship. She will be sharing some motherhood advice, her motherhood journey, and some of her favorite memories with motherhood. And we'll share some of our favorite things about each other as mother and daughter. So, this episode doesn't need much of an introduction because, as you all know, Mother's Day is coming up. And I know I brag about my mom all the time on my podcast and social media. So I thought, why not have her be my special guest right before my Mother's Day? My mom is absolutely my rock, my best friend. I really don't know what I would do without her, and I'm just so grateful for her and all that she does. And so now I am excited to introduce you all to my mom. So, Mom, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Cathy White. I'm a mother of three beautiful girls. In addition to that, I've raised a niece. I'm currently now a Gigi through that niece. I am a pet mom of one. We used to have another puppy, so for 15 years I was a pet mom, grandmom. I'm sorry, of two, and that's who I am. Oh, I'm a wonderful wife of a wonderful husband.
Yes. Okay, so thank you for being a part of today's show. So, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You know, Mom, it's exam season, so I'm just kind of stressed, but we're almost done. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Finish strong.
Yes. As you know, I try. So before I dive into questions about your motherhood experience, I wanted to do like a little segment to just quickly talk about mother-daughter relationships and for us to just express a few things to each other. So first of all, as you know, mother-daughter relationships are one of the most complex relationships. And I personally think this is because both are girls. And I know for many reasons, girls and women tend to be a little more catty and hormonal and emotional. So I think those just conflicting one another is what really makes the mother-daughter relationship have those bumps in the road. But I think it's the teenage years when a lot of mother-daughter relationships hit those bumps in the road. And I know for sure that's like when me and my mom had like our issues here and there. So I think also just moms and parents in general don't want their children to repeat some of their mistakes, which is why they can bump heads. But I feel like despite the mother-daughter conflict we have, me and my mom are very close. So, Mom, what's your take on this?
I would absolutely agree. We are extremely close, and I thank God for that. But yeah, those teenage years were absolutely I wouldn't say worse, but they were definitely rocky. But being that you were the third daughter that I was raising, I actually gave myself some grace, knowing that it wasn't because the other two babies were not my biological. It's just that during those teenage years, you guys are trying to figure yourselves out, entering puberty, thinking you know a lot. And yeah, they were very interesting, to be the least. And trying, and not to mention that I'm about to enter them for the very last time.
Yeah.
With the last daughter.
Yeah, it just for my listeners to know that my younger sister and my mom's last daughter, she is the most intense out of all of us. So it's gonna be a journey. So
yes.
So what advice from a mother's perspective would you say that you need to have a quality mother-daughter relationship?
I think you, and this is what I tell a lot of young mothers, you definitely need to keep the lines of communications open. You need to have it where your daughter is comfortable coming to you with anything, and just have an open mind and let them be able to express themselves without being judged. And what helps
Mhm.
me with that is to remember that I too was that age. I too went through some of those things. So definitely keeping an open relationship, let them feel comfortable coming to you without being judged. You definitely have to keep those lines of communications open because, as Tatyana's often heard me say this, I would rather you tell me and let us figure it out together than to make some huge mistake that you can't take back.
Yeah. And that I would agree with that advice too, because my mom has always been like, you can tell me anything. And I'm like, okay. And I know it's like weird because it's like, you don't want to like tell your mom stuff. It's like, what? But like, yeah, I think having that open line of communication is really important. And I know like some people don't really have that relationship with their mom, but if you can, I would advise to do that. And like from the daughter perspective, like I would say, like, also in addition to that, to just have a quality mother-daughter relationship is like two main pieces of advice is that one, to listen, and also just to have like quality time, like actually hanging out with your mom. Like I know listening can be hard, and I still don't listen to my mom all the time, even though I probably should, but just try not to dismiss everything that your mom says, because she has had more experience in this world than you, and she could be telling you like very valuable things. And there are just so many things that my mom have told me at the time, and I'd be really annoyed, I'd be so mad because I'm like, she just doesn't get it. But then years later I'm like, oh, like, okay, like my mom, like, you were right, you actually had a point. So definitely just take the time to just listen to what your mom has to say sometimes. And I also said taking the time to just hang out with your mom, because in any relationship and bond, like just taking the time out to have one-on-one quality time will always just allow growth. And plus, you just never know, like, when someone's last day is. So it's like, just, it's very important to build those quality bonds with people. And now I just want to do a little like positivity moment, I guess, with my mom. So first, I want us to say one favorite quality we have about one another. So I'll go first. So, mom, my favorite quality about you is your caring and resilient spirit. You always care for everyone around you, and you will drop everything for anyone, whether it's for family, friends, even like you said, my dogs. So, um, and the care that you show people, especially to like your students, like it really just will stick with them forever. And it's the fact that just despite all the trauma and the hurt and just like all the loss that you've endured in life, like you just still remain really resilient, and you still love and you still care for people with all of your heart. And I always tell you, it's really inspiring to me. So
Okay, and my absolutely, I think favorite about you is that you've taken on a lot of those same attributes. I see that you're caring, and I think the thing that stands out the most is you're such a good friend to everybody, and that's awesome because that's I always try to instill in you guys to just be a friend because you never know what that person's going through, and I can see that in you. You listen well to others. In fact, you've helped me to be a better listener. I don't always, I like to talk a lot. So now just talking to you sometimes helps me to reflect, or listening to you, I'm sorry, helps me to reflect and be a better listener. So I think
mhm.
well, one of, because I have many attributes. You're, and also that you're so hardworking and you don't give up easily and you push through. I could just name a number of things, but I would just stick with the fact that you're such a good friend. You're a good listener to others. Yeah, and you're such a hard worker. Like you never give up. You've always been a hard worker, and you just don't give up easily, and that makes me very proud of you.
Thank you. I I always feel like that's one of my favorite qualities about like I feel both of us like that's how we're very much alike is the fact that people come to us and that just
Mhm,
makes me feel better and like I
mhm.
feel like we're not one of those like we're not mean girls like like we're always those people that like the weird people that people would deem as weird like we're still like hey like I'll be like your
Yeah.
friend so yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I also, I have to, I guess, also thank my dad for that being in the military and moving
Yes.
around. Yeah, so it's like, and yeah, like you moved around with us too. So yeah, like that we have no choice but to try to be friends with people because we know how it is to be the new person in the outfit.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. So now the next question, we're gonna say one lesson that we've learned from each other. So I'll start again. So of course, like you've taught me a lot of lessons, but I will just say one because we would be here for a while. But you taught me how to know. One of my favorite lessons is you taught me how to know when to let go of what's not good for me. And you, of all people, like, the amount of just toxic relationships and the amount of toxic situations and people that I've been around. And so I never, like, wanted to let them go because I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And you would just talk to me and you would just give me the real and very uncut advice about how you have to let go. And now, like, with everything that you've said to me, like, I've just learned to be able to let go truly with what's not good for me anymore. And that's one of my favorite lessons that I've just used forever. So,
Yes. One lesson that I've learned from you, and it's been several, just imagine that I'm the oldest, but I do learn. It kind of piggybacks off of what I just said. I've learned to communicate to people better just by listening to some of your situations and how you handled them. I listen, I think, better just listening to you, and then I communicate better. I don't hold things in because I just kind of take on some of the things that you do. And actually, believe it or not, I think I'm a better planner because of you as well. Like, because I'm like, hey, now if my daughter can plan and be on time, surely I can. So I've learned a lot through looking and watching you, and it's making me even a better person on my job. And at this age, I communicate better. I plan better. I'm more prompt. So yeah.
and we're very thankful for that because my mom, listen, you guys, like she used to be late to certain things and then it would just be that would be a whole fight. So this goes back to the mother-daughter relationships. So yes, but my mom, I will give it to her, she's doing a lot better with her time. So but also, like I tell you guys all the time, my mom is also just superwoman in the flesh, so I can understand she has a lot to take on. So
Yeah.
but all right, this is my last question. So before I get into like the more motherhood specific questions, we're just gonna do like a fill in the blank thing. So I'll start again. So my mom, the fill in the blank will be like my mom makes me laugh the hardest when blank. So I would say my mom makes me laugh the hardest when she makes up scenarios. So she'll be like, what if I just like broke out into a full choreography in the middle of the grocery store and then like she'll just demonstrate what dance she'll do and it's just hilarious and like and so I feel like my imagination like it definitely comes from her. So
Yeah.
yes. So okay, mom, you can fill in the blank. My daughter referring to
My daughter makes me laugh. Actually, this is something new that we have both been dying laughing about. So, like, I used to say this all the time anyway, but I guess it's a popular trend right now. I'll say it with your silly tail self. So now like she said, we'll make up a very crazy scenario and we'll add it with your silly tail self. And then we both like die laughing. I mean, for minutes on minutes. And it's just hilarious. Another thing I know that makes her laugh and kind of makes me laugh too. She knows if I'm in the grocery store, I'll just spark a conversation with anybody.
Oh,
And sometimes I'll mumble stuff under my breath, just something real silly. And we're both like
yeah.
dying laughing and can't stop to the point where it's almost embarrassing. Like we look at each other, we're like, no, we really need to stop. And then we'll start to laugh all over again. So, yeah.
Yes.
So I think our newest thing is adding silly tale self to the end of anything and just die laughing behind it.
Yes, we either say silly tell self or we'll say like crazy tell self.
Yeah, crazy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's also just like another thing that I think we more so do as a family is the whole like when we're like watching a movie, I feel like my family, my parents we're the best commentators for movies because we'll be
Yes.
like we'll be like no way so yeah.
Yeah, she's right. And I think Harold's better at that than anybody. Like sometimes it'll be a segment and he will reenact like the whole segment, but putting his own words to it. And we're just dying laughing. So yeah, we're a crazy, silly family.
Yes, and even just like in real life, if we see like an interaction going on, but we can't hear it, we're like, okay, this is what they're probably saying.
Yeah.
My parents are truly one of a kind. I'm very grateful. So, so now we can get into more of the motherhood specific questions. So the first question that I have for you, Mom, is during your pregnancies, like who are the first people that you told, and how were you feeling?
Okay, I'll talk about yours first. Probably only yours. So we were stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi. Probably only married for about a year, but I already had my niece. I had my bonus daughter, so it was pretty much to the point we really didn't need to wait as a couple. So we were trying to get pregnant probably a few months, and then finally, and it was like literally the best present ever. And it's such a coincidence that we're doing a Mother's Day episode because it was Mother's Day morning. I'd taken a pregnancy test and I saw a very faint pink line, and I ran in the room. I was shaking Hera, and he was like, "You're not pregnant." And I was like, yes, it's pink. And so he was like, okay, well, don't tell nobody yet. And so he heard me on the phone because I talk to my family every weekend, and he heard me whispering real low, and he just walked by and shook his head. So like, I was so excited. He was like, don't tell everybody yet. And I was still telling everybody. So we were very excited. And I found out on Mother's Day morning, and then the next best thing with your pregnancy was that you were born 10 days before my birthday. So I'll never forget that you were a very special Mother's Day gift that year and a birthday gift the following year.
Yes, and that sounds like a very much my dad thing to say, of like the whole you're not pregnant.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be, just like anything. Like I'd be like, yeah, like I'm not feeling good. And he's like, you're fine.
Yeah, and it was just like that. So
yes. So now, I know it's probably surprising, but like you do realize you're like about to be an empty nester kind of soon. So how does that make you feel?
We're actually excited because believe it or not, we've been parents really the entire time that we've known each other. We've been parents because I took on my bonus baby. So we are actually excited to be able to just see what adulthood is like without children. I'm sure we're going to miss everybody. I'm sure I'll call y'all more often, but I think we'll get to travel a little bit more other than waiting for the summers. But I think we'll kind of like being empty nesters.
Wow, okay. I wasn't prepared for that answer, but
we're gonna miss you guys, but literally our whole adulthood we've had kids. So
I can understand.
Happy to see what it's gonna be like to not have any.
Yes, but you guys deserve it. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so now that you've been a mom for like quite some time, if you could go back and give your younger self advice on motherhood, what would you say?
I would just say, and I think I may have said this earlier, to give myself grace. I was always a little hard on myself, thinking I wasn't getting the things right. But in looking at it and looking at all of you, well, everybody except Daisha, entering
Mhm.
adulthood, I think I did a pretty good job, or we did a pretty good job. But I just
Yeah.
remember as a young mom being really hard on myself. But like I said, hindsight, I think I got a lot of things right.
Yes, I think so too. I think that we all needed you in our own ways.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like, my older sister Shan and my cousin Courtney, like, I feel like we each specifically needed you to be our mom. So we really
Yeah.
need
And
you.
it's funny, and every relationship was unique in its own special way. So I totally
Mhm,
agree with that.
mhm,
And to this day is unique in its own special
mhm.
way, because I'll get phone calls from all three of you. And it's funny, the different scenarios that I have are always still different, but I love them all. I look forward to getting them. And the fact that they all of you still call for advice, that means a lot to me.
Oh yeah, I call like I read everything by my mom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna talk to my mom about it, and if my mom says it's wrong, then I'm like, I will feel bad and I will apologize. But if my mom understands my point, then I don't think I'm wrong.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, yeah, no, you definitely like out of everybody, like if I get confirmation from you, I'm like, okay, like my mom is not gonna steer me wrong. So,
I try my best not to.
and so also just like a bit of a follow-up question is like how significant of a change do you feel from when you first started being a mom to like now?
I have so much more experience with it. I'm actually, it's funny, I'm a little bit more laid back to the fact that you and your sister always say Daisha gets away with everything.
Yeah.
It's not that. I think Kara and I both are old. We're tired. We're like, okay, girl, whatever.
Yeah.
I think we're a little bit more laid back now than we were with the three of you older girls.
I feel like my little sister, she used to do a lot more, but and you used to always say that you used to be like, yeah, like when Deja gets older, like I just feel like me and your dad are gonna be over it. So, but I didn't think y'all were serious, and like y'all are serious. Yeah, yeah. And so also, like, do you think like any of your kids or like any of us just remind you of yourself growing up?
Both you and Daisha. And it's funny, I think Daisha probably more than you, because you are, I think, and people, I try not to show any difference, and I don't think I do, but you're really sweet and nice. And Daisha's like I was a little bit, I was bossy at times, and it's like she's giving it all back to me. I was a sweet little girl too, but I was definitely bossy, and I can see that in her, and it really annoys me. But then once again, I have to step back because that's exactly who I was. And then for you, I think you get my kind heart in spirit. But yeah, Deja is challenging, but I can see a lot of myself in her. So I try to, yeah.
I know they say that too. They were like, usually, like you get it all back when you have kids. So yeah,
Yeah.
they
Well,
usually you.
that last baby is definitely gonna give it all back to me.
And so is there anything like growing up that you swore like you would never do to like your kids? Like you know how like if you're like a kid and like you have a curfew and you're like when I have kids I'm never gonna let them like stay out or like I'm not gonna give them a curfew. Like were there any things that you swore you would just never do?
Yes, and I don't know if you've talked about it yet, but I was raised primarily by my father, so by a man, and I would just swear, I'm like, oh, please, just give me a break already. He was strict. He was a man. I was a girl. He was strict. And then when you came and started dating and was in high school, I absolutely did everything that I said I wasn't going to do. uh, Believe it or not, I think your daddy was a little bit more relaxed than I was, because I'm like, wait, what? You saying yes to that? Oh no. so I would say being strict, because I used to always say, I can't wait to get out of this house. He's so strict. And then there I was when you were in high school. I'm like, oh my God. So
yes, I definitely think that, like, I mean, I don't have kids, but I feel like, when you have children, it makes a difference. You're like, wait, okay, I can understand this.
yes, absolutely.
And I was
Absolutely.
actually going to ask you that too. So, like, do you feel like you were more of the stricter parent or my dad, or you feel like you both were equal in that area?
It was definitely me, and it surprises me, and it surprises a lot of my other friends. They were like, "You were strict." I'm like, "Yeah, I was," and not that we held you in, but I was the one who had to like really think about it, and then meanwhile, Harold was like, "Oh yeah, cool." I'm like, "What?" Even to the point when we went to get your car, like he really had to peel me out the house that day. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get her a car." I'm like, "No, she doesn't need a car." He was like, "What's the difference in her driving your car and having her own?" And I was just like, "Wow, we really about to get this girl a car."
Yes. Oh my god. I was really shocked, like, when I knew my like dad and like my mom, like they got a car like whenever they surprised me one Christmas, but like I did not realize that my mom was the one that was like no. And I
Right.
think also, like, even I guess I was shocked because both of you were a little iffy when I first even asked to drive to school. So I was like, oh, like they were both probably a little iffy, but I was like, what? You were the one that was trying not to give me a car? Yes. And so for this next question, just like a little bit of like a backstory for this one. Well, like you kind of already gave it, but like my mom, like her sister passed away many years ago, and she had a daughter, which is my mom's niece, who she's been talking about, and my cousin. And so my mom, like she took her in and raised her, and we were raised like sisters and stuff. And so her name is Courtney, and she recently, had a baby girl named Christiana, and we love her very much. And so now technically my mom is a grandma, and she, like she said, is a Gigi. So with that being said, like how does it feel to like have raised all of us, and now life is just coming in full circle and you are now a Gigi?
Yes, it's a real blessing, because that's literally, and you've probably heard me say it 1,000 times, one of my prayers is to live to see you guys as adults, and then to see you start your own family. So it's such a blessing to be I almost said it's on the other side of it. It was surreal. Even at the hospital, I was like, oh, wow, I'm really about to be a Gigi. And so, yeah, I absolutely love it. And it's like I said, it's almost surreal to the fact that all of you, well, the three of you are in adulthood, and Shan's married, and she will soon have a baby as well. So it's just really, it's a good feeling to, have seen you guys grow up and do well in life, and now starting your own families. So, yeah.
Yes, and my mom is exactly how, like, I know I've always seen like the things on social media that's like, when it comes to like some of the things that your mom didn't let you get away when you have children, like they're like the greatest grandma, let them do whatever. That is my mom. Like she was like, she's like, it's okay, like you're Gigi's baby. Like I know you want me to hold you. I'm like, okay.
Right. That is true, because even they are like, yeah, you can't hold her all day. And I'm like, give me this baby. She wants something. So.
But so my next question is like, what's one of your favorite memories with each of your children?
Oh, wow. and I'll start with you. One of my favorite memories, and it piggybacks on something we said earlier. You worked so hard in high school, and I laugh about me being strict, but sometimes I often thought, well, I wish she would have more fun and enjoy her high school years a little more. So the day that you got accepted into UF would have to be one of my absolutely favorite days because it was so deserving. I'd seen you work so hard. I had come in your room so many nights and thinking you were up talking on the phone, but I would find you with books all lying on your chest and falling asleep. And so it was so deserving. So with you getting accepted into UF, I knew it was your childhood dream. So to see it actually come to fruition was such a exciting, memorable moment, one that I'll never forget. I'll have to go ahead and plug this in here. If Harold watches it, he's going to kill me. But we were all just crying, and he to this day says that he really wasn't crying, but he was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
such, and I'm glad that you said that because I talk about that story. Like I've talked about it a few times on my podcast, and I'm glad that you are here to back up my claims. When I say that night was like,
it was surreal. It was absolutely one of the best moments, even a family moment. It was one of the best. And then with Shan, I think seeing her get married, once again, it almost felt just like it did. So I'm going to talk about Courtney and Shan at the same time. It almost felt just like it did. I was able to hand Courtney her baby for the first time because she had to go under some tests and stuff after delivery. So with Shan, it was seeing her walk down that aisle and actually become a wife. Courtney becoming a mother, and then Daisha, because she's still growing, I think I'll get to see so many more. But I think with her is her competitive spirit with you, Tatyana. I used to see her not be so studious, but as soon as she saw that you received all those scholarships and everything, she literally asked. She was like, "What does she have to do to get those? How did she get into UF?" So now I see a total different student. So to see her competitive spirit and to see her like she is rocking school now, but it was a swift change when she saw that you were successful. So, and again, she's the youngest, so I'm pretty sure I'll see some more, and from all of you I'll see more, but definitely her because she's the youngest. So right now I would say her competitive spirit and she's just acing school, like really rocking it this year. So I'm very proud of her. Proud of all of the girls.
Thank you. I feel like we're a pretty good bunch.
Yes, y'all are. You guys are. Absolutely.
And so, what is I know you probably have to think about it for a minute because it's like a very specific question, I feel, but what is the nicest thing that you feel like each of your children have like done and said to you?
I think with you, and we communicate a lot, just that I inspire you because that's my goal. I want to impact not just you. I want to impact everybody I come in contact with. And I say that because I'm a teacher. So it means a lot to me when I've touched a person, and especially coming from my daughter, that I inspire you. I think did you ask from each one of you?
Yes.
Okay. And actually, probably from all of you,
Yeah.
that same thing that I inspire you guys, and that means a lot because that means I'm doing something right. You guys are looking at me, and I'm doing the right things to inspire you girls.
Thank you. You do. I feel like you always just inspire me because, like I said, just with all the things that you've gone through versus like me, like I feel like I did not go through all those things. And like, so I'm like, okay, like if my mom can push through and still go through with life and be a great person, then there is no excuse for me to not be a good person. And so what have been just some of your proudest like mom moments. It can be like something that you're proud of that you did as a mom, or something that you're proud of that your kids did, or like a combination of both.
And I'll use a combination of both. The fact that I have my master's degree, but I made a conscious decision to go back and get my education specialist. And I kept in mind, even sometimes when I felt like, why did I do this again? I felt like I was showing you girls that there's no end to success, that and I wanted you guys to be able to see me as a student, a mom, and like I was working. So I wanted you guys to be able to see that in me. So that was one of my proudest moments. And sure enough, I know it worked because I saw you work hard in school. I saw Deja work hard in school. And that's something I took a lot of pride in. I said, if they see me working hard and still being able to handle the household, go to work, then surely they will, be hard workers. So I think that's one of my proudest moments.
Yes, and it definitely was inspiring too, just seeing you being back in school while also being a full-time teacher and a full-time mom. So you did great.
Thank you.
And so what has been like, because I know like motherhood has like the good and bad, ugly, all that. So what has been the most rewarding part of being a mom, but also what has also been like the scariest and hardest thing about being a mom?
And I'll start with the scariest. And even to this day, it's whenever you guys are sick. I absolutely do not like when any of you are sick because there's nothing I can do about it. Normally, if you guys call me with anything else, I can help in in some kind of way I can help. But when you guys are sick, there's nothing I can do but pray. And that's always the hardest part for me. I just absolutely hate when any of you are sick or, experiencing something of that nature. And the most rewarding, I think I kind of touched on that already with you entering UF, Shan being married, Courtney having a baby, and then Deja being such a hardworking student.
Yes. I think my mom gets very worried when we're sick. And like to the point where like even if like I'm pretty sure I remember there's been some times my mom has been like a little under the weather herself, and she's just more worried about us, and she's like, no, it's fine, like I can be sick, but she was like, and so she's very selfless. So
Yes.
And so what are like some ways that like specifically for me and you that you think that we're similar, and then some ways that you think that me and you are different?
I touched on that too, but I think we both have kind hearts. We're caring people. We're good friends to others. And we're different, I think, I don't know how we're different. I can't think of anything offhand that I'm trying to think.
I think we're different in a way of that. And this gets on my mom's nerves, but I'm very like, I don't know if OCD is the right term, but I get very like it has to be a certain way. I don't like when certain things change, and I'll ask my mom, I'll be like, okay, do you think I should do this instead? Like, I had a photo shoot for my birthday party, not my birthday party, but my birthday photo shoot. I had one recently for my 20th birthday, and I was trying to decide if I wanted curly hair or straight hair, and like there was just issues with the whole curly hair thing. So I was like, okay, should I do straight? And I asked my mom, and then she said, yeah, do straight. And I was like, well, actually, I kind of want to do curly. And my mom's like, okay, so why did you ask?
Yes, so you're right. I didn't think of that, but absolutely. I think that indecisiveness, and when you go back and forth, that's a bit annoying, and you already know that. So
yes, like that. Like my mom is always like, listen, like you can't just ask somebody and then you just don't even follow what they told you. So,
right.
And so these next two questions are also just specifically about me as well. Like, what career, this was just like a spontaneous question, was like, what career did you think I would have? Like when you saw me growing up, what did you think? Like, you know what, she's probably going to do that when she's an adult.
Well, at one point, because again, you were able to go to school, like be in the schools that I taught at. And so at one point, I remember, I think you were probably, it was probably when I was a reading coach, I think, and you used to, I saw you mimicking like some of the teacher things. And I was like, no, absolutely not. You are not going to be a teacher. So at one point, I did think because you were with me so often, and you saw the things that I was doing as a teacher that you were going to become a teacher. So I was really glad when you decided not to. Not that I don't love my career field, but I just wanted you to be able to do something different and better than what I was doing. So
Yes, that was definitely on the radar for like, I think, yeah, like you said, because we went to the same elementary school that like all my years of elementary, I went to the same one you taught at. So it was always like, I would go in my mom's class and like write on her whiteboard and pretend like I was a teacher. But then I think the key moment was when I like transitioned to middle school without her and like it became kind of real. And I remember there would be like some like projects here and there throughout my classes where we would get to be the teacher for the day, but like actually come up with a lesson plan. And I was like, oh no, I was like, I just would never do this for a living.
right.
So yeah, middle school was that changing point for me. So yes. And I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, are you proud of the way that I turned out as a young adult? Like, am I the type of young adult that you thought I would be?
You absolutely are, and more than what I thought you would be. I'm just super proud of you. I recently, it's funny, I'm going to share this story. You probably don't know this. I recently went on a job interview, and this question was asked, what makes you proud? And I immediately talked about not just you, but my family as a whole. But I'm super proud of you. Like I said, I've watched you grow into a young lady. I watched you through your high school years when most people would have been out partying, having a ball. I watched you study, and just such a hard worker. And that just makes me so extremely proud. In fact, like I said, I learned a lot from you as far as your planning aspects. And I can say your dad helped on that end too. You took more of his role in that area, which in turn made me take it. I'm like, hey, I can't be the only one in this house procrastinating and not planning. And, I was like, yeah. So it's funny. I think it was until I saw you with that work ethic. Not that I was lazy and not pulling my weight, but it was things I could have done better. But watching you do it as a young adult, I'm like, surely now, if my young adult daughter can do this, I can be better at this too. So just your work ethic and how you really grind. You have a lot of hard work. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I feel like I do have like great supportive parents that have helped instill that in me, because one thing about my parents, they did not play about grades. That was like so serious. So, and definitely like my dad, like I very much like I know me and my mom used to get like frustrated all the time because like when we would go on trips, my dad was like, we're doing this at 8 a.m. We have to be on the shuttle to get to the amusement park by 10. And I was like, oh my God, like, oh my gosh, it's a vacation. But then it's like, I see myself doing that. Like, it's to a point where when I talk to like people or when I call my parents once a week, I have to write a list of like, okay, I have to tell them about this happened on Tuesday, this happened on Wednesday. Like, so it's so bad now.
And she's telling the truth to the point where I'm like, hey, did you finish your bullet points yet?
Yes.
So I can know when to jump in.
It's my roommates do it too. Like I'll like try to play it off and glance at my phone. I'm like, okay, let me go to the next bullet. And they're like, are you reading a list? I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, it's bad. Like I feel like I said, I don't know if OCD is the word, but it has just been my organization skills lately. I think college has really just amplified it. I'm like, it has to be ordered. So
but you're helping a little lady over here that didn't Well, I do learn from you guys. I learn from you. So yeah, you're definitely helping me because now I have a planner and I've learned a lot to the fact I'll tell people now that like I used to just say, yeah, I'll be able to do that at such and such time. But now I'm very much like you. I'll say, hey, if I don't have it in my phone, I'll say my paper calendar is at school. Can I get back with you? So yeah, you helped me in that aspect.
Yes, thank you. And so I know like my grandma, like your mom, like passed away when you were only 2 years old. So my final question is for those people out there who have lost their mom or they don't have like a mother figure or a mom like for this Mother's Day, what advice would you give them?
And I'm going to give them the same advice. I cannot take credit for this one. My younger cousin, and we kind of grew up like sisters too. This is something your audience won't know, but probably until I was 18, I absolutely hated Mother's Day. For that reason, I didn't have my own mom. So I had a lot of aunts, I had sisters, I had my best friend's moms, but it was still not my mom. So I absolutely hated Mother's Day. So when I was 18, my younger cousin Demetra, she's a singer. Well, I've always been, my family laughs. I've always like been a teacher at heart. Like I used to teach them, and I'm a very good reader. So she was like, "Hey, on our 18th, on my 18th birthday, because she was younger, she was like, I want to do something in the church. And I was like, girl, no, I'm not doing that. I don't like Mother's Day. And she talked me into doing it. So what she did, she led a song, and then I read the scripture, and we literally had the whole church standing. So that kind of made my turning point to like, hey, I can help people. I mean, I have a kind spirit and I can help others. And so moving forward, same cousin, I was still like not in love with Mother's Day, but I was getting there because I knew my niche. I was like, hey, I can help other young girls. And so when I had you and Shan, she was like, hey, she randomly called me. She probably felt it in her spirit. She was like, listen, she was like, we don't have moms to celebrate, but she said, let your daughter celebrate you. And that stuck with me. Like it was big. I was like, wow, you're right. Because here I am being down and out, not realizing I have little people that are looking up to me and they needed me. So I think those two things were turning points for me. And I will always give her credit. Well, God too, that he basically put it on her spirit to talk to me about both things. So the advice that I would give is find out how you can channel that, because yeah, it's still a hurtful time for me, but I was able to channel it in the fact that I know I can help other young people now and these were older people actually at church that they were like literally in tears crying and praising us. And then I realized I have to be a good mom. And I think that's why some people say, oh, your girls are spoiled, they get the world. It's not that. I'm giving them the relationship that I didn't have. So I take that to heart. And not even just you girls, even the young people I teach, they know I treat them extremely well. And I have these hard conversations with them. And I'll tell them at the end, it's because I love you, you know? So I channel that energy is what I do. I try to help people, you know, and like I said, I know I've done a good job because you guys, you call for advice. I have girlfriends that call for advice. So yeah, that's how I dealt with it. And of course, praying. You can never pray enough. So
yes. Yes, and so I think that was really great advice, for anybody that doesn't, I always try to, I think that's just the empatheticness in me, is that I try to be cautious of, I feel like, your story helps me be cautious for things like Mother's Day and Father's Day, just like knowing that there are people out there that don't have those people. So that was really great advice. And yes, you did great. And I feel like you are everything that your mom would want you to be as a mom. So I think you did really good. And so Thank you, Mom, for being a part of this episode and just sharing your motherhood journey and your memories and advice. And I just want to wish you a happy early Mother's Day. And I just know that I would not even be one fourth of the woman that I am today if it wasn't for you. And you have always been there for me with advice, love, and support and care and just everything. And you literally share every single podcast post that I create and everything. And the bond that we have is unbreakable. And I just thank God that He chose me to be, for you to be my mom. And so there isn't enough words to just describe how great you are. And I love you so much.
And likewise, I absolutely love you more. You've making me so proud, and I cannot wait to see what else you have out there. I see greatness in you. I've always seen greatness in you. You're everything I prayed for. Even when you was in the womb, I always prayed for this kind of relationship and bond that we have, and that you will be a smart, intelligent, beautiful young lady. Yeah, because funny note, I literally did pray for that. I was like, and God, out of all the things, I also wanted to be a pretty baby too. So yeah, you're everything that I prayed for, and I'm so excited. And I mean, yeah, one of my greatest gifts in life. One of my greatest gifts in life.
Thank you. And so now into the heart to heart segment. So the Motivation Monday quote of the week was, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." And so I thought this quote went well with this episode because I think a big part of motherhood is realizing you can't change like some of the things you may have done wrong or wish you could have did better. So instead, you just have to work in the present. And I believe in general, this quote really means to just stop focusing so much on the past because you can't change it, but instead work on the present and change how the course of your life goes and how, it ends. And so, and how your motherhood journey goes. And so, it's just like some of the movies, like some movies, like the beginning might be bad and you might be tempted to just cut it off. But if you keep it on and you keep going, you will see that the plot begins to change and it gets better and it turns out to be a lot better in the end than you thought it would be. It changed the course. And so I think that's really just how it is in life. It's just important to change and grow and not stay stuck on the past because our past does not define us and we should always continue to work on changing for the better. So, Mom, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. But everything that you said, I totally agree with. You just have to push forward. I always say, finish strong. No matter how you started, let's finish strong. I tell my kids that at school. I tell you girls that you're right. You can't change the past, but you can definitely change the ending. You just got to push through and finish. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Like you can't change yesterday, but you can definitely dictate your future.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
So thank you so much again, Mom, for being a part of this Mother's Day episode. And I love you and thank you for all that you do and for being the most amazing mom and person that the world just blessed us with. And you will forever be appreciated. So.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's all for today's episode of Talks with Tatyana. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Talks with Tatyana _, on Facebook at Talks with Tatyana, and on Twitter at Talk with Tatyana without the S after talk. Turn on your post notifications and please leave ratings, reviews, and share with your friends. Until next time, remember, stay open, stay kind, and keep fighting the good fight.